Let me just first say that there's three common themes in the testimony today. The assistance with all the technical aspects of understanding who qualifies, how much do you qualify for, talking about PPP, and where can I go get it. The second is the access, finding the places that will actually do it for you. And then the third is the long-term capital needs, which I think is a critical component of it. And I want to take it in that order. So on the first point about the technical help, I actually think that the point that was raised earlier, the statistic that Mr. Busby, that I asked him to confirm, 70% of black-owned businesses were denied, 96% that got it, got less than they asked for, is an important point. Now, the way PPP works, just not to be redundant here, but it's important because it's a new program. Okay, this thing was thrown together. Senator Cardin and I were there, Senator Shaheen Collins and others, so we had to come up with something that could get out there quickly. I assure you, had we put all that money in through an existing program, we would still be talking about 5% of the people having gotten it because it just have the infrastructure for something that's brand new. And there was confusion and the rules were thrown together. Something this big and this new is always going to have those problems. But the way the PPP works is you apply and the banks don't, once you apply and the banks have it and they run it through SBA, the banks don't make the decision about getting it or not getting it. They can't deny you a loan. And if they have, then they've broken the law. What they can deny you is the opportunity to apply, but they cannot deny you the loan. They cannot say you cannot have a loan. The loan is 100% guaranteed by the federal government. There's literally zero risk for the bank. In fact, the bank pushes its cash out the door and within 8 weeks can take it to the Fed and sell off the loan. And they make a 5% fee on the smaller loans to begin with on top of it. So there's no denial process. You either qualify or you don't qualify. What they can deny you is application. We're not doing any more PPP loans. We don't do loans for people that aren't clients, that kind of thing. Or, as was cited, and I think by Senator Booker, they can discourage you from applying at the bank level. I mean, and that's one thing. On the amount is automatic as well. They don't get to decide, well, you qualify for 50, but we're only going to give you 25. You qualify, if you're approved for up to 2.5 times of payroll. There's no discretion involved there. There's no bank decision, again, because it's not their money. They're basically acting as the intermediary between the federal guarantee and the push out. So that drives me to the point that it is, I don't know this to be true, but I'm guessing that a substantial number of those that are denial are actually not denial of the loan, they are a denial of the ability to even apply. That in essence, they went to whatever their existing banking relationship is and they told them, we're not doing any more PPP loans, or they didn't have one that they could go to, which leads me to the second point that everyone has raised, and that is lender access. And I can tell you that had it not been for regional banks, because the way we had to do it is, how do you do something like this in 6 days? Well, first you start with a baseline of 1,000 pre-approved designated lenders who are a part of 7A, and then you build on it. And it's built over 4,000 additional lenders, basically everyone, fintechs, and obviously the push to get CDFIs in later in the game as well. And it was a process to get to 5,000. It's an important stable of lenders, but the regional banks, and I think it was Senator Ernst that raised this. Without the regional banks, this thing would not have worked. It's just that simple. What we found in a lot of the bigger banks is if you were a large account, you were processed by the commercial division. If you were a smaller account, you were processed by the small business or the business division. And there are a lot more business applications than commercial applications. The commercial applications just moved a lot faster. The other thing that I think we learned in time through all of this is that one of the things that they did do, which worked really well, is that the SBA designated like a 12-hour window in which they would only accept applications from smaller lending institutions, and it kind of cleared some of the backlog. It allowed those to get, because you can imagine, I mean, these larger banks had loaded everything up when that second tranche of funds became available, and they just smashed the system with these automated applications and almost crashed it. So that's important. By the way, one of the things that I did want to point out is, because the mention was made of 1099 employees, they actually, for the first time ever, were eligible for this sort of assistance. That's something we added into the bill. They would qualify for 2.5 times whatever it is they make. I get it, it doesn't cover all their needs, but I think that goes back to the technical assistance piece, which is explaining to people, these are your rights, this is what you're eligible for, and this is where you can go. So that I think highlights that. It also highlights the lender accessibility. And then the third is the long-term figures, because all these impediments that I say don't exist or shouldn't exist in PPP most definitely exist. Going to the market and saying, I want a long-term, low-interest loan to be able to survive as a business. And that is a piece that I think we have to address, and we have some ideas on, others have some ideas on, but it's one we want to make a priority.